about to listen to the Dr. Daliah Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Daliah Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Daliah.
All right, we are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So most of you over the weekend had heard the horrible, tragic details of the death of Gene Hackman and his wife. And there was a lot of confusion over the last week or two as to how they both could have died roughly at the same time. And it was revealed they didn't die roughly at the same time, which brought even more questions up. Still, foul play is not being considered or suspected. And what they feel happened is Betsy Arakawa, hope I'm pronouncing her name correctly, had died before Gene Hackman died by a week. And apparently she died of hantavirus. Now, hantavirus we've spoken about, where you could get exposed to rodent droppings or rats. Deer mice are common in rural areas that could carry the disease, and it could cause such a severe respiratory syndrome that you could go into respiratory distress and die. They believe that that was the cause of death for Gene Hackman's wife. Gene Hackman, however, lived an additional week beyond that, and we're told that he had a pacemaker. And so the pacemaker, now pacemakers, pacemakers are to help keep the heart in a very rhythmic, healthy pace. Now, many of these are so ingrained in technology that there are readers, there's software, there's accounts of, when the pacemaker had to kick in or if the pacemaker was working. And so the last, I guess, beat captured or pacemaker reading was a week after Betsy Arakawa had died. And they feel that Gene Hackman died of cardiovascular event. His heart stopped, and he suffered, they believe, from Alzheimer's, which means he had to have been in a house walking around and living with his wife on the ground and not realizing that she needed help or she was dead. The dogs were maybe not getting food. We don't have a lot of detail on how two of the dogs stayed alive. One died, and we're presuming it's because they died of starvation. But these other two dogs, maybe still, when somebody has Alzheimer's, many times they forget to eat, they forget to dress, they forget where they are. They could run out into the street, but sometimes they still might remember certain rhythmic duties. And so he might have still fed the dogs. We don't know exactly what that last week of his life entailed. And it's just so tragic because, all of us grew up with Gene Hackman. And, when he was on, it's really hard psychologically to see actors like Bruce Willis, like Sir, oh my gosh, why do I keep forgetting his name? Oh my gosh, it's not Laurence Olivier. Sean, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm, but anyway, we've had some amazing figures who have just unfortunately started to age and then lose their cognitive ability. And when you see that happen, it really kind of starts to rattle your faith. And it also, what this case shows with Gene Hackman and his wife Betsy is that when you are secluded, like a lot of us have done since COVID, people leave you alone. Well, they leave you alone, and then they're not there to help. And so when something does go wrong, here we are being told that they were dead weeks before they were found. And Alzheimer's hits everybody, whether it's Sean Connery, sorry, I forgot his name, Sean Connery, Bruce Willis, Gene Hackman. It can cause, whether it was Alzheimer's or multi-infarct dementia or another sort of issue that caused somebody to lose their cognitive abilities. If you are a family member of one of those individuals, they may not understand to call 911 and help you. And we always want to go by default where we're going to take care of our family ourselves. We're not going to bring somebody else in. We don't want somebody else to come in. They'll steal. They might take advantage. They might not help. Well, look at what happened. The woman who was taking care of Gene Hackman ends up dying. Nobody gives her help because Gene Hackman either didn't realize it or didn't have the ability to. So she ends up dead, and here he is alone for another week, and then he ends up dying. They said there was no food in his stomach, meaning he probably hadn't eaten for a while. He wasn't necessarily dehydrated, but people with Alzheimer's, they go, well, how do they end up dying? Does their heart just stop? Well, if somebody with Alzheimer's is not doing the things they're supposed to be doing, like taking their medications, taking care of themselves, yes, then their health can deteriorate, or they stop eating, or they may have a horrible infection that they're unaware of. So this is very, very tragic. So to see something like this happen, but the take home with this is no matter how isolated you want to be, don't be isolated. You need to reach out. You need to have with your siblings, with your friends, with your neighbors, with your children, check-in moments so that if something's not right, they know. Anytime I travel, I let my husband know, all right, if you don't hear from me in an hour or two, something's wrong. Check in, because that means I don't have my phone, or that means something happened. But I always want to give them guidelines so that they know what's normal for me and not normal for me. I'm not a very quiet person, so if you don't hear from me, yeah, something's wrong. In fact, I wasn't on air Thursday. Oh, no, I was on air Thursday, but I was on air Friday. People were kind of panicking. The reason why I post on Facebook where I'm at is because people start to wonder something went wrong when you go off air. And so when you have a predictable pattern, then there's more eyes on you and more people are concerned and watching you and making sure everything's fine. But when Gene Hackman and his wife, Betsy Arakawa, kind of reclused and had a life of privacy, which I don't blame them for having a life of privacy. Unfortunately, it was so private that nobody knew they were in trouble. And they were in trouble. She might not have had to die, and he might not have had to die if she got the care. To treat hantavirus, we don't have an antiviral. We usually do supportive measures. Many people with hantavirus, I think it's like 40% lethality. So we do respiratory support. So there are things we could do. And of course, avoid rats, avoid rodents. You know how the cartoons like Tom and Jerry, somebody would scream, get away from a rat. This is one of the reasons why hantavirus is pretty dangerous. 1-877 Dr. Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now to answer your questions for free. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100. I'm here with spokesman John Wolf. So, John, tell our listeners who should call right now.
Well, Maria, first off, thank you for having me join you to answer the listeners' questions. Now, as far as who should call in, anyone who's been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, give us a call right now and find out how much your case is potentially worth. Call 800-710-5100.
Thanks, John. You heard it, folks. If you think you deserve compensation, call now to find out how much you qualify for. 800-710-5100.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
The cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret, powered by science.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to y'all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at Dr. Daliah, Facebook, The Dr. Daliah Show, and on YouTube. Click like and subscribe. So have you ever got caught in a lie? I have. And it's embarrassing. It's really embarrassing. So I lied yesterday. I had a long wait for my flight, and I had gotten an American Express card. So I wanted to use the lounge. And I wanted to go into the lounge. And apparently there was a 3-hour limit. It's a 3-hour limit you're allowed in the lounge, which makes sense until your flight leaves. Now, because you have to board, you're really not in the lounge for 3 hours. You're only in the lounge for 2 hours and 15 minutes because you have to go run to your gate. So that means you get 2 hours and 15 minutes in a lounge. For the price of the American Express card, I'm still learning if it's worth it or not. But I wanted to go in beyond the 3 hours, okay? And you could do that if it was a connecting flight. So he asked, did you have a connecting flight? I said, yes. I'm not stupid. I had to pee and I was hungry and I heard there was free food. So he goes, great, show me an email of the connecting flight. I go, well, I don't have it because I was just here for the weekend. So I'm connecting with people on the flight and I'm connecting. So it was a whole lie. It was a complete lie. But he said, sorry, just come here 3 hours before your flight. Okay, and I'm like, I got to pee. I got whatever. So I went to pee, went to whatever. Yeah, but I got caught in a lie, and it's not fun. But, I have a reputation, and I cannot act like I don't know what I'm doing. I can't act like, now, trust me, I did. When I was getting out of a speeding ticket, I was like, oh, officer, really? That's what the sign said? Oh, my gosh. I saw you, and you were just so handsome, and I wasn't paying attention that it just blinded me from the sign. And I was able to get away with that maybe 30 years ago. Now, no. So I have a reputation to uphold. All right. I lied. I owned up to it. Fine. I went in. Fabulous lounge, by the way. Wow. It's expensive to have a credit card. I like the free credit card so I don't have to spend money. But this was kind of nice because you got to eat and there was a speakeasy. I'll talk to you guys about that later. But the reason why I bring this up is one thing we're hearing from the Democrats about Biden is how they were duped. They were duped. I was at a Talkers Magazine conference, and there's an amazing, brilliant woman who's a judge who has her own radio show. And she had said, look, I admitted to my audience that I was duped. Now, kudos to her for being honest in terms of, not still running this narrative that Biden was healthy and whatever. But on the other end, how does a judge get duped? Were Democrats really duped? And Democrats have this now predicament of either saying the White House made me think he was completely fine and I was a victim of manipulation. Okay, they could go that way, which makes them look extremely gullible and sometimes kind of incompetent because anybody could see he was failing. That a kindergartner could see that. Or they double down and say, look, I don't care. He was still a better president than Trump. Those are the Democrats' two options: double downing or saying that they were a victim and they were being duped. Now, for years, we have said, as a whole, somebody else is running the country. And so now you're going to hear Auto Pen Gate. Auto Pen Gate is where somebody is looking at Biden's signatures, and it looks like it was an electronic signature or an auto pen. And so this made headlines. I don't know why it made headlines. This is what I assumed they were doing anyway. I mean, what Trump is doing where he's signing in front of people, many presidents don't do that. They just, use a stamp or something like that. But apparently dozens of executive orders signed by President Joe Biden were authorized with identical auto pen signatures. Identical. Raising critical questions about whether he was fully aware of what he was saying. And I guess the Heritage Foundation's oversight project uncovered the situation. I don't see why this is breaking news. Obviously, he didn't look like he knew what we was signing. He didn't look like he knew what he was, calling on. But why this is so significant is for 4 years, we allowed somebody without invoking the amendment to allow the vice president to take over. We allowed Biden to be the figurehead of the Biden presidency when he might not have been the one doing the orders. And we knew that. We kept asking, who is running the presidency? Who is it? Is it Jill? Is it his chief of staff? Who is it? Karine Jean-Pierre? Who is the brains behind this? Because it's not him. And that's why when things were going sour, and I mean, maybe that was the strategy. Look, we could just blame the border situation on, Biden isn't wanting to make a move. This is all on Biden. I mean, how much of him was really involved? And so when you kind of look at this, it really is to me, very frightening that you had Americans for the longest time say, look, something's wrong. Get him help. I even said, just get him help. This isn't a Republican Democrat thing. All right. Just nonpartisan. He needs help. That's why he keeps going back to Delaware. He's getting some sort of care. Give him some help and show yourself. Whoever is running this country, whoever is behind that Wizard of Oz curtain, show us who you are. Now, Woodrow Wilson, it was speculated that when he had a stroke, the wife took over. And the wife was making a lot of the decisions. So my first thought was it was Jill Biden doing it. But this auto pen thing isn't too much of a shock. I remember in the 80s, I was really young, but the news outlets were trying to show how Ronald Reagan was diminishing in capacity from a motor standpoint because they showed his signature from his first year of presidency to his eighth. And his 8th year of presidency, it was a scribble. And so maybe people learned from that because they saw what the media did with the Ronald Reagan signatures as he was sadly starting to struggle with Alzheimer's, that they didn't want anybody looking at Biden's signature. Maybe Biden couldn't do a signature. But if Biden couldn't do a signature, he shouldn't then be in office. He needs medical care. He needs help. And this is why you see a complete contrast with Trump, where he is signing things in front of everybody. And you're seeing his signature because he doesn't want anybody to think that there is somebody else running him. People want to say Putin is running him. No, he's doing his own signing. He's doing his own executive orders. So you're going to see this auto pen issue. It's interesting. Doctors were given stamps. They said you could stamp your signature. You could stamp. I don't want to stamp anything. You could stamp your DEA number. I don't want to stamp anything. It'll be in my handwriting. So you could verify with me, my handwriting. I don't even mess with me. But if you are of the Democratic Party or Liberal Party and you say you were duped, before that comes out of your mouth, stop for a second. I mean, even George Clooney, the reason why George Clooney spoke out is he did not want that reputation of either lying to the public or looking like he was that obtuse where he couldn't see what's going on. And he has a reputation to protect. And he came out saying, this is not the same Biden I've known for years. I cannot endorse him. He does not look like he's up to par to be commander in chief. And so when people say, but I was duped by Karine Jean-Pierre. If you're really that intelligent, nobody can dupe you. If you need I love doing strategy. So I give strategy to Democrats and Republicans. So if you need strategy as a Democrat, say, look, listen, we all saw he was struggling. But a lot of the policies that were coming out of the Biden administration is something that I aligned with. This isn't me talking. This is if you were a Democrat. And I was very loyal to my party and loyal to my president. And so I chose to continue to back him despite everything that the world saw, because I'm loyal. I wanted to have loyalty, and I did believe in many of the things that he wanted to either create or campaign for or execute as our president. That is a better answer for the Democrats than saying I got duped. And I don't want to insult anybody, but I think people don't know what to say because this was such a cluster and a half. And they don't want to look dumb. They don't want to look tyrannical. They don't want to look what's the word for it when you, mutinous. They want to show that there was a reason for them to continually double down on Biden. So we had a man with significant health issues. That should never happen again. He should have gotten the care he needed, and we needed a commander-in-chief who was with it. 1-877 Doc Daliah, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Daliah here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping. Addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdaliah.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So there has been a second death as it pertains to measles. And this has obviously a concern because we thought we pretty much eradicated it by 2000. But we are being told that the measles outbreak has killed a second person. It was an adult who was unvaccinated in New Mexico. The fatality comes a week after measles took the life of an unvaccinated child in nearby Texas. These are the first U.S. deaths from measles since 2015. They considered measles eliminated in 2000, but I remember in 2000, we weren't saying it was completely gone. Yeah, they were like, measles is eradicated almost. Well, no. If you're going to use the word eradicated, that means measles is completely gone. And so most of us in the 2000s didn't believe that. We knew there could still be cases. And then we saw in 2015, there was an outbreak that we believe started at Disneyland from international travelers that came in. Vaccinated individuals and unvaccinated individuals both got exposed. So, and came down with it. So, now we have an influx, which, by the way, was pretty predictable. I hate to say this, but we have been saying for years because of the border that we are going to be seeing more and more individuals. In fact, Alejandro Mayorkas had said 1 in 5 migrants had a disease that was with them when they were coming across the border, as opposed to the Ellis Island days where you couldn't come in if you were sick. With the way the border was so porous under the Biden administration, people were coming in with cholera, tuberculosis, hepatitis, and possibly measles. And I'm not saying these 2 cases in New Mexico and Texas were migrants. I'm not saying that. We would like to know, though, were these migrants who got sick, or were these individuals near migrants? What happened? Being unvaccinated, yes, puts you at risk for measles. But it puts you at risk for measles if you're near somebody who's bringing it in. Where's the measles coming from? Is it now endemic in the United States? Is it a stronger strain that is now outsmarting the vaccines that we have? The vaccines came out, it was discovered in the 50s, and it started to be used widespread in the 60s. And then we nearly eradicated it over decades of vaccination. A lot of controversy over the vaccine. Many parents were concerned about the health issues and the thimerosal preservative being used. And there was a lot of back and forth on if it caused neurodevelopmental changes. But it did do what it was supposed to do as it pertained to measles. But sadly, the cases are rising. And we're not getting a lot of, I guess, information. They said the person who died in New Mexico was a resident of Lea County, 50 miles from Gaines County, Texas. That's where the outbreak appears to be centered. We don't know their sex, we don't know their age, and we don't know if they are migrants, if they were here legally, if they're American citizens. That, it would be kind of nice to know. Now, somebody could say, "Oh yeah, everybody just concentrate on the illegal versus legal." Okay, in medicine, you have to. Why? Because if somebody, let's say, was vaccinated in another country, do they have the same vaccine protocol as we do? We always need to know where your origins are. We need to know where you've traveled, and we need to know what you got. When you show your child's pediatric vaccine record, when we complete the vaccine record, we complete the brand of the vaccine, the lot number, all of that. Why do we do that? Because we got nothing better to do? No. We do that because if we do start to see vaccinated individuals come down with an illness, we can look at the lots and see, was it a bad lot? Or is this cross lot, cross all the different types of supply boxes that were given to doctors? So we need to know. But seeing an unvaccinated 6-year-old in Texas die, that's heartbreaking. Seeing anybody die from a virus that shouldn't have to, not good. So this is something we need to be aware of, and we need to jump on. So the CDC says as of March 6, 2025, there's been 222 measles cases reported in 12 jurisdictions this year. These include jurisdictions in Alaska, California, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, New Jersey, New Mexico, New York City, Pennsylvania, Rhode Island, Texas, and Washington. The majority of the cases are in New Mexico and Texas. Most of the 222 cases were among children who had not received the MMR vaccine. Most of them. I'd like to know the number of those who were vaccinated. Is most 51 to 49%, or is most 99.999%? They said there have been 3 outbreaks, with an outbreak defined as 3 or more related cases reported in 2025, and 93% of cases are outbreak associated. For comparison, 16 outbreaks were reported during 2024, and 69% of the cases were outbreak associated. So it's very contagious. You basically get the 3 C's: cough, coryza, and conjunctivitis. So in medical school, we learned the 3 C's: cough, coryza, or your runny nose and nasal congestion, and then pink eye or conjunctivitis. Now, when you see cough, coryza, and conjunctivitis, that could be any virus. A lot of viruses come with that. It could also come with a fever. But the rash can come on days later. And this rash is what makes us pick up that this could be measles than another virus. And the virus is transmitted by direct contact through droplets. So somebody spraying when they're sane can give it to you. Airborne spread when they're sneezing. And it apparently measles could remain infectious in the air and on surfaces for up to 2 hours after an infected person leaves the area. Now, you are contagious anywhere from 4 days before the rash starts through 4 days after. The incubation period for measles from exposure to fever is about 7 to 10 days, and from exposure to rash onset about 10 to 14 days. So the range is anywhere from 7 to 21 days in total. So I'm a fan of the MMR vaccine. I understand parents have a lot of questions, and RFK Jr. is going to hopefully allow there to be now more transparency so parents could look at the data. They are recommending that all children get 2 doses of MMR. The first dose we give them at about a year to 15 months. The second dose they get before kindergarten, between 4 and 6 years. Infants 6 months or older can receive the MMR vaccine. We usually don't give it till a year if they are going on international travel. But we usually don't do the MMR under 1 year old. But the CDC is allowing. They say adults not at high risk of exposure are recommended to at least have 1 documented dose of MMR in their lifetime or other evidence of immunity. We could do a blood test to see if you have been exposed or if you have been vaccinated. Adults at high exposure risk, like students in college, dorms, healthcare workers, international travels, they should get maybe 2 documented doses. And so, we hope that this is something that is going to get under control. What is making this a little bit more difficult is we have many individuals not going to the doctor. They're calling telemedicine. And the kid has a fever, a cough, a runny nose, pink eye, and these parents are calling up wanting antibiotics. And I go, well, it sounds like a virus. COVID could do this. Measles could do this. Well, my kid doesn't have a rash. So it's a sinus infection. Give my kid an antibiotic. And I always say, can you please go in and get your child seen? Because this could be measles. Whether they're vaccinated or unvaccinated. And I don't want to scare people, but we're just not necessarily documenting and confirming what people have. Parents are calling for antibiotic eye drops because their kid has pink eye. Well, most pink eye is viral. We're not really supposed to be doing antibiotic eye drops. I think they help make them feel better faster. But the American Academy of Ophthalmologists and I think American Academy of Pediatrics keep reminding us that viral pink eye is not supposed to be treated with antibiotic eye drops. But this is what parents are calling in for. So we're going to be having mass underreporting of these cases. 1-877 Doc Daliah.
Hi, everyone. If you've been injured in an accident and think you deserve compensation, listen up. We have legal professionals standing by right now. They'll tell you if you have a case and how much it's potentially worth. Call 800-910-7500. That's 800-910-7500. Call now to find out how much your case could be worth.
Advertisement sponsored by Legal Help Center. May not be available in all states.
In a study, it was found that 33% of 44 herbal supplements had no trace of the advertised herb. Don't let that happen to you. Hi, this is Dr. Mitch. If you want to ensure quality, please go to totalwellness.com. Supplements made for physicians only now available to you too. totalwellness.com, helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.
Self-reliance. It's not a phrase we hear much in our culture these days. It might conjure up images of pioneers, the West, rifles, strapping men, and strong women. But what does it mean for us in today's world? The New American Magazine has just released its latest collector's edition, Self-Reliance, Foundation of Freedom. In it, the New American authors outline the necessity of self-reliance for a free people, tips for self-reliant living, and the importance of not giving up hope. This unique edition includes articles on the self-sufficiency of the founders, preparing for a worst-case scenario, firearms, financial self-reliance, the importance of community, and many other topics by expert writers. Now, for a limited time, the New American is offering a bundle of 3 collector's editions, Self-Reliance, The Great Reset, and Trump World, for just $19.95. Available at shopjbs.org. Visit shopjbs.org today.
We are back on the Dr. Daliah Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Doc Daliah, 1-877 DOCDALI. So, we as Americans are getting smarter as it pertains to scams. So if somebody says, oh, yeah, you'll be able to win the sweepstakes, put money into this raffle, electronic raffle, and then you might be able to win a big prize. I think a lot of us, there's still some people out there that could get duped. But, or those who thought Biden was completely with it the whole 4 years. I understand there is some duplicity or dupology that could be happening. But for the most part, when you tell us, oh, you're going to win this or you're going to get something for nothing, I think most of us are like, yeah, hang up. or we don't even respond to it. We blow off the email and we move on. There's still some suckers out there, but for the majority of us, we blow it off. Well, scammers are not stupid, and they are learning us. They're studying us. They're hunting us, and they are finding ways to get to our heartstrings and to, I guess, manipulate us by not looking like a scam. And so I talked about this last week. I think I talked about this Thursday, where I've been getting these calls and they know exactly what makes a doctor tick. So one call I had gotten, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but I want to teach you guys about this. So one call I got, this was probably 6-7 months ago, was from the DEA. And the phone number seemed to be a number that was associated with the DEA. So they did their homework. They did something. Or they started to add SEO, search engine optimization, so that when that number clicks, it looks like it's related to, or they name a company and that's the number. So they call me up saying somebody is using my DEA. It is going to end up putting me in jail because somebody is using my DEA inappropriately. And when they are doing this, it's going to look bad on me. Now, I'm a physician. I don't necessarily need my DEA anymore because I don't do controlled substances, and I haven't written a controlled substance now since 2016. But I still keep my DEA active. And they're saying that somebody is using this pretending to be me writing drugs. Well, this has happened to me in the past, where somebody either stole my prescription pad or they pretended to be Dr. Daliah and gave flu shots in North Las Vegas, and they stole my shots. But they didn't steal enough syringes, so I got really nervous. I notified the police, but the police had already arrested her before I even found out everything was missing. But so scams have happened, so they know exactly what to tell a doctor. Somebody's pretending to be you, and somebody is using your credentials to do harm. So you're like, what do I do? How do I fix this? Well, the call didn't sound completely legit. It was a gentleman from India, and while I'm on the phone with him, I'm just... check, is there a scam where somebody's from and thank God somebody had posted, there's these men that sound like they're from India saying they're with the DEA. And immediately I knew. Then I was like, that's all I need to know. Because something just didn't seem right, especially since I haven't written controlled substances in years now, almost 9 years. And so I hung up. But it's funny because they wouldn't let me hang up. They said, you don't understand. This has got to get fixed today. You could go to jail. And so they do that, and they really step up the speed. And you know enough about DEA, and you know enough about prescriptions that could be a serious offense. But you should also know that that's not how the DEA reaches out to you. They're not going to be on a cell phone and then make you hold and then try to get some personal information. They have that all that information in the database. They may go through the medical board, and the medical board may reach out to you. So anyway, that was ridiculous. And then last week, I posted and I spoke about this, where I get this call. It was from a local number. It said at first no caller ID, which to me was, okay, it's a scam. But when they called, they said it was a sergeant from the Clark County Sheriff's Office, and call us back at 702. And then I wrote the number down for you guys because I don't want you to get scammed. So I'm busy. I'm running around. So I asked my husband to look at it. I go, I don't know, this could be a scam, whatever. So he decides to call the guy. And he calls me back. And my husband's like, this is some serious stuff. You need to call this sheriff back. Or call him back. So I call him back. And he says that there was a court case that I failed to show up for. It was a child rape case. I was supposed to give expert testimony. And because I didn't, Judge Peterson now has 2 warrants out for my arrest for failure to show and failure to testify and etc. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I've done expert witness. Usually the lawyer reaches out to you. Usually the lawyer gives you records. I'm like, what's going on? He's like, look, we have proof that you signed a subpoena. That this is your signature. And I go, great, send it to me. They're like, we'll have you come to the office. They'll have you come to the sheriff's office. What's the address? And they gave me the address of the sheriff's office, the Clark County Sheriff's Office. So it they know what they try to make it seem like, because they know you can be verifying as you're on the phone. And I go, who's this judge? They said Judge, I think it was Jessica Peterson, who is a judge in Las Vegas. And I'm like, okay, they know how to reach out to me. No, who signed this subpoena? And it was at a house that we hadn't lived in for years. And I'm like, the average person will not sign a subpoena for somebody else. That doesn't make sense. So you need to come down here and verify the signature. However, you are not allowed into the building without you posting the bonds, which ended up being like $4,500 and $5,300. So it ended up being close to 10 grand. And I'm like, you're asking me, I go, let me, get my husband on this call. No, you cannot involve third parties. I go, then let me get my attorney. You could get your attorney, but we need to get this addressed as soon as possible. I go, I'm about to leave for New York. No, you need to get this done today. There are warrants out for your arrest. So I'm like, what's your badge number? And he gives me his badge number. And it just didn't seem right. And so I go, I'm sorry, there's a lot of scams out there. You're asking me as a, vibrant, sexy, hot woman to go into the middle of a court, where we have all our courts in downtown building offices with $10,000 in cashier checks. How do I know that I'm going to have you talk to my lieutenant. Now, as I told you guys last week, this guy had a Southern accent. He was really nice. He was a sergeant talking to me, saying he wanted to get this all fixed up and to please me and get everything all nice and done. Now, we don't usually hear gentlemen with Southern accents in Southern Nevada. Okay, we don't have a lot of Southern accents. We have a lot of Latino accents. Yep, we don't have a lot of Southerners. And he sounded maybe a little Texan, maybe a little South Carolinian. Now the lieutenant gets on the phone. He identifies himself. He's got a Southern accent as well. I got two Southerners, really, in one phone call. And I go, what does the subpoena say? And it said, Miss Daliah Wax. I go, there you go. This is fake. Forget it. And I hung up. If I'm an expert witness, it's doctor. The fact that it had they really, so yeah, I shouldn't have taught him that. I shouldn't have told him where they screwed up, because now they're going to try to fix it. But look at the painstaking way that they kept saying, look, you have warrants out for your arrest. You have warrants out for your arrest. Just like I told you guys a few weeks ago, those toll road texts. You are overdue. You have fines. You could lose your driver's license if you don't pay your tolls. I'm like, what tolls? There's no tolls where I live. And you immediately are like, well, I did drive in California and I was just in New York. But what the hell? It just didn't make sense. And so they're getting more sophisticated. They're trying to learn you. And so there's going to be a kid saying, Grandma, it's me. I need money. Please don't tell my parents. Don't do anything without contacting the police, and the police will verify if this is a scam. 1-877-DOC-DALIAH. Don't go away.
Did you know that healthy arteries make a gas? Yes, actually 3 known gases. Hi, I'm Dr. Mitch. And nitric oxide is a gas that's readily made all day long to keep our arteries open by relaxing the blood vessel walls. By doing this, our circulation is increased, bringing blood, oxygen, and nutrients to every part of your body. Both age and poor diet can lead to a loss of this precious gas, and in turn, blood pressure can go up, energy can go down, and you can get tingling in your hands and feet. Well, our product, Ultimate Nitric Oxide, can easily help fix this lack of nitric oxide. Go to TotalWellness.com. That's TotalWellness.com, where we are helping you to look good, feel good, and enjoy total wellness.